You're in Braves country.
Braves country, hope y'all had a Merry Christmas. Joining us today is Sergeant Teamus Wooten. Mr. Wooten, glad you came back in one piece. Welcome back to the States. And I'm glad you didn't have to spend as much time as we feared over there. How are you?
Me too. I'm good. It's cold over there, brother. Whew. They got snowflakes the size of waffles over there.
I'm assuming it's cold where you're at.
It's not warm.
Where are you at nowadays? Ohio?
Ohio, yeah.
What's the temperature like?
Today's 30s.
Hard pass.
Yeah.
Anyways, we got a lot to get into, got a little time to do it. So let's go ahead and hit off with Smoke 'em if you got 'em.
What's all the shouting?
So Smoke 'em if you got 'em. Basically what we're going to do, just go over the recent things that have gone on in Major League Baseball. I guess the biggest thing that jumps off the board this morning, if folks haven't seen it because it just broke, I don't know, maybe 5-10 minutes ago, Gleyber Torres has officially been announced as the one-year signing by the Detroit Tigers. So the Tigers signed into a 1 year, is it 15? Yeah, 1 year, $15 million deal. And so another infielder goes off the board. I don't think Atlanta had any interest in him. I don't think for folks who haven't seen Sarge before, he is a Red Sox fan. I don't think they had any interest in him. but he does go off the board. And then the other things I did want to touch on real quick, just for folks who haven't been paying attention with all the holiday stuff going on. Walker Buehler, 1-year deal to your Red Sox, $21.5 million. And Goldschmidt goes to the Yankees, 1 year, $12.5 million, I believe is what it was. And that's all the big deals that have happened in the last time we were on the air. Anything jumping out at you other than obviously the Walker Buehler signing on your end?
No, which is a problem. I mean, I was really hoping we would start kicking things up a notch or two, but Breslow works at his own pace, I guess.
Well, you're preaching to the choir, man. I mean, literally, Braves have done absolutely nothing. They had a big old bag of coal in our stocking this year for Christmas. The only thing that I'm holding out hope for is this happened last year. And it was either December 30th or 31st. I looked it up recently that the big trade for Chris Sale came through. And I do believe that that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to make another trade. I don't think he's out on the market trying to bolster the offense or the pitching with the free agent signing. Because if you're looking at the numbers and you realize how cash strapped that the Braves are, so we're $24 million from going over the top again. Okay. And if you go over the top where the salary tax hits, that's going to be the third year in the row for Atlanta, which means you are going to have to spit the bit and pay 1.5 for every dollar. So in other words, if you spend $1 million, you're actually being charged 15 or 1.5 million. And that's for every dollar that you go over that limit. Looking at it the way it ended up last year, the smartest thing would have been for Atlanta at the deadline is get rid of some of their bigger contracts, and they would have gotten underneath, and then they could have been more aggressive this offseason. But at the time, they were trying to fight to get in the playoffs. They got in the playoffs, so you can't really fault it. It's easy for hindsight to kick in. But that's where we're at. You know, a lot of people are expecting this big wave of signings by the Braves. It's not happening. I don't see them making a single significant signing in the offseason. I think they could make a trade where they're going to have to give up prospects so that the team that trades them eats a lot of the cash. I think that's the only way it happens. And I'm in favor of something else, and I'm going to throw this out at you. I know you're not. I know the Braves are your second favorite team, but I'm going to put this out here. So Anthopoulos always believes in doing his shopping during the offseason and not at the trade deadline. And I'm going to go ahead and say this, and I'm going to say it with my chest. I say we save the damn money for the trade deadline. You're going to need to make a couple of minor moves to get you through the next several months leading up to the July deadline. But I would be in favor of signing a platoon for shortstop. We've talked about this a million times, so I won't go over it. But there's several players that I like to platoon with Orlando Arcia, whose glove is elite, but his bat is below par. And then you're going to have to add probably one significant outfielder, but he doesn't have to be an all-star to buy you time until Acuna comes back. And you're probably going to have to add a pitcher, but it could be one of these also-rans at the bottom of the barrel that's more of an innings eater. And you see what you can get out of the young guys, because we got 3 young guys that are going to be fighting for a rotation spot. And then you save quite a bit of that money so that at the deadline, if you are competitive, you jump in with both feet as opposed to just sit there and hope for the best. Because if we do a lot of moves right now, we're going to be handcuffed at the deadline. And then what do you do if you get an injury?
Well, how big of a loss was it when you lost him? His name just skipped to the Yankees, the pitcher.
I'm sorry, do what?
I
Say that
said,
again.
how big of an impact on your staff is it that
Oh,
you
Max
lost?
Fried, look, it was huge, but at the same token, we're adding Spencer Strider that we didn't have last year. And last year we had the best rotation in baseball. The the biggest issue that I had with the Max Fried is that once they let him get to his walk year, he was gone. None of these guys come back to Atlanta once they get into the walk year. If you wanted to extend Max Fried, you had to have done it last spring, but most likely you needed to do it the spring prior. But the thing with Max Fried is, and most Braves fans know this, they're very aware of it, Max Fried has a history of injuries. And he's been very brittle, and you just signed a 31, going to be 32-year-old to an 8-year deal, averaging 27 a year. So what's that going to look like in a few years? I didn't love losing Max Fried because when he goes, he's a beast. But he's not a big strikeout guy. And that's not going to improve as you age. So you're going to have to make sure that you have an elite infield to deal with the fact he's a ground ball pitcher. He gets about 5 or 6 strikeouts per 6 innings, typically, if that. Usually averages more around 4.5. But at the same token, he was a guy that when he went out there 9 times out of 10, he was giving you a quality start, and that's not nothing. So it hurts. But at the same token, we are not one of the big market teams until we get out from under the media deal, which has 2 more seasons left. We're going to be dealing with this. When AOL signed that 25-year deal for $1 million a year for 25 years, they screwed us. And they didn't care because they were trying to make money way back when. What was that, 2009, somewhere in that neighborhood? Did they sign that deal? Or maybe a tad past that. But anyways, the point being, though they've always been up in the top 5-ish of payrolls, they've been doing it and getting that money a lot of different ways. The biggest thing about that tax is that you also lose your first-round draft pick. And a team like Atlanta really can't. They can survive because they're going to get a draft pick back from the Yankees, right? But you don't love the idea of losing the first-round draft pick. So that's my biggest.
Reason I brought Fried up is because we're going to be facing him, 12, 13 times, probably. And if we're lucky and make the playoffs more, what are we up against now?
I mean, you're up against a guy who's a lefty ground ball pitcher, but he does have strikeout ability. He's a guy that hell I've had him in my dynasty fantasy league for several years, so I've paid attention to all of his starts quite a bit, the numbers, because it affects me, right? And first of all, he's going to be a clubhouse leader. I'll say that much. I think the Yankees made a very good choice. And honestly, I was going to bring this up later, but we'll go ahead and hit it up now. I'm going to make the assertion that the New York Yankees are better right now because they did not sign Juan Soto.
Yeah.
Because if they had signed Juan Soto, they're not bringing in Fried. They're not bringing in Goldschmidt. They're probably not bringing in Devin Williams for that matter. And that's a pretty good addition compared to what they've had.
Well, you and I talked about this offline a couple of times. I am so against these $500 million contracts, especially when you're talking 10, 12 years or whatever it turned out to be, because every contract we've seen like that, I mean, we're taking Ohtani out because that just started, but all the other, pool holes and all this, they pay for the last 4 years, seasons, they're dead weight.
And so to clean that up, it's 15 years at $51 million a year. And from my understanding, there's no deferred money. Right.
But there's like 3 players you could get for that instead of 1. I mean, is he good?
No,
yes.
Look, I get that entire argument. I do. I I've never been in favor of it, but then again, I'm not pulling for a team that's in a large market. So they can kind of absorb that. The Mets are going to make other moves, but let's just say for argument's sake, if the Mets don't make another move right now, and I know that's not going to be the case, but the New York Yankees are a much better baseball team right now than the New York Mets. Now, the Mets still have to sign the first baseman. I still think they're probably going to bring back Pete Alonso. I think they're trying to wait him out and have him sign a much cheaper deal, or they might be trying to get him to sign a prove-it deal. And maybe he goes back out on the market with a 1-year opt-out with some financial security. But there's been rumors that there's a handful of other teams that may be interested with them. The problem that Alonso had is that there was a decent amount of first basemen out on the market coming into free agency. And he wasn't the best batter. But what Alonso does bring you, and whether a Braves fan wants to hear it or not, he's a guy that's going to go out there and swat 35-plus home runs. He's a guy that hits for a decent average. He's not even close to being an elite fielder. So the one problem you have if you're a Mets fan, if you say, we're going to sign you to a long-term deal, you can't have him and Soto playing DH at the same time, because Soto's eventually going to be a DH. He'll probably start out in the outfield, but they'll eventually DH him because they're spending $51 million specifically on his bat, and he does not give you any kind of upgrade in the outfield. He is a below average right fielder. He's about an average left fielder, but that's it. And is it worth having him going out there, not just risking injury, but the wear and tear on the legs when you want those legs to produce pop in the bat, especially when you're paying him $51 million.
Right. So my question is, all the things you just said, how did he command that kind of a contract then?
I don't.
He's not playing. He's not Mike Trout or anything, you know. I mean, Mike Trout was Mike Trout, you know.
Offensively, he's elite. Offensively, he's better than Mike Trout right now. But then again, Mike Trout's gotten older, so that's got a lot to do with it.
Right.
But offensively, he's elite. Okay.
But
the idea
is going to get older too.
Yeah, the idea that he's worth the same amount of money per year-ish, give or take. I guess technically he's making less per year, but the idea that he's in the neighborhood of the contract of Shohei Ohtani makes zero sense to me, because he only plays the one position, and he's eventually going to be a DH. For a couple of years, you'll have him in the outfield somewhere. But eventually...
Is it just the Mets thumbing their nose at the Yankees? I mean,
it had a little to do with that, but from my understanding, the Yankees offered a pretty comparable contract. They offered him 16. So what the Mets gave him 15,765. The Yankees gave him 16. It was right around the 750 number. It was like the overall value wasn't much less, but there was one more year added on. So the AAV had dropped a little bit. But all in all, look, I do not think it was a great signing long term. I think you'll see dividends immediately, but long term, you'll never sell me on the idea that a guy 15 years is going to be anything close to what he was. Sans steroids, right?
Yeah.
The only way you get to that is if you start pumping steroids in your behind like Barry Bonds did, and all of a sudden magically in your late 30s you're a better player, right? But other than that, it doesn't happen.
Yeah, he's 24 now, and he got 15 years. He's 39 when that contract's up. I mean, which is ancient in baseball years, you know. Right. I mean, I heard the Red Sox were fishing with him and everything. Please don't pull a Miami Dolphins and just give all your money to one player who will go there and stink it up. He would have been great to have, but at no time was I disappointed that we didn't just back that semi truck up.
Value was overvalued. That's my biggest take. That's my biggest take is that he is never going to be worth now What they're going to argue is that they're going to be able to sell jerseys. They're going to be able to sell out the stadium, specifically because he is a member of the team. And that might be true.
For about 4 seasons.
Right. The question will be, how does he produce into his 30s? And you also have to realize something else with the Mets that's not at all the same with most of the other teams that were in the mix. Their owner doesn't give a crap. He grew up a Mets fan.
Yeah.
He's a multi-billionaire. He's one of the richest guys in America. And when you put all that aside, he just wanted to basically show who had the biggest balls in the town, right?
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to sit out there and go, "Here you go, Yankees," thumb his nose up to him. But that only goes so far because he does have investors. He doesn't own this team all by himself. He does have investors, and eventually, if they do not see dividends paid, they're going to go, "All right, man, we got to tighten the belt." And you're not going to be able to trade away Soto 10 years down the road, making $51 million, even though the contracts will go up. They won't go up that much to the point where he's,
Yeah, he's in a different stratosphere. He's in Ohtani stratosphere, and there's only 2-3 people maybe in the entire league that's up there.
Right.
And he's the newest.
The only difference is that Ohtani was a 10-year deal, so we're talking $70 million as opposed to $51 million a year. But Ohtani gives you an elite DH, and assuming he comes back well on the arm, a pretty good, if not number 2, number 1 starting pitcher.
He's a solid pitcher, for real. Right. He's solid. I mean,
we don't know what's going to happen with his arm when he comes back, but I'm just going to assume modern medicine will still have a pretty good track record with these Tommy John surgeries, and he'll be okay. But honestly, I don't know if the other thing that you could see happen, and realize they've got a $300 million plus, was it 330 with Francisco Lindor? So it's $1 billion for 2 players. With all that being said, it may make it easier to recruit players to want to come play for you. Not only are you in New York City, which is still not just the capital of baseball, but the capital of marketing, even though you can make arguments that you can market at other places, but whatever. It's still elite to be in New York. They may be able to recruit guys in for cheaper, and maybe that's their angle, but I don't think that's the case, because if you look at the tax hikes that they get in the state of New York when you're a free agent, I don't think you're going to be able to talk someone in to going to New York over going to the Texas Rangers, which doesn't have a state tax.
Right. Yeah.
State income tax. But anyways, let's move on to the next subject. SNIT happens.
You keep playing like this, we'll be the laughing stock of the league.
Well, what do you expect? All we got on this team is a bunch of and a booger-eating moron. That booger-eating spaz make me want to puke.
All right, so these are the minor deals. SNIT happens. The Braves signed right-handed pitcher Enyel De Los Santos. Control your enthusiasm. And Davis Daniel, a right-handed reliever that may or may not make contributions on the big league level. De Los Santos was to a minor league contract. I really feel like he was a depth piece. You look at, he had an ERA of 5.04 last year across the board. He does have swing and miss stuff, but he's going to have to clean that up before he's going to jump off the page for anybody. But some of your other minor deals, by the way, I did want to put this out here, T. Listen to these numbers. So we're 25 days away from the Hall of Fame announcement. And I would think Ichiro gets very close to 100%, but I don't think, just knowing how they think, I don't think he gets in.
Well, it's whoever says no to that guy should not get a vote.
Well, remember the same organization has not. They've only done one player ever at 100%, which
It was Mariano. Or
I don't know
right?
why he was the one that everyone said, "Yo, yeah, you got to put him in."
But they didn't with Griffey Jr. didn't
They
get in
didn't
100%.
do it. Babe Ruth, Ted Williams, none of them got 100%. So the idea, I'm sorry, but if I would have gotten whiff of the fact that everyone was going to vote for him, I'd be like, I have to be the guy who doesn't vote for him, because you can't give 100% to all these other jackasses. Take 100% away to put him in at 100%. So I don't even understand the philosophy behind it. There was a real elitism that came from these jackasses from the Baseball Writers Association of America.
Yeah.
They're the gatekeeper. It's the reason why we started our own Hall of Fame here about a month ago. And we put guys in we think that'll be in. If you ever want to watch those videos, they're up, and we've got more coming. The one caveat to our Hall of Fame is you cannot currently be in the Hall of Fame when we put you in. So the first guy in was Shoeless Joe. The next one was Pete Rose. But we're 45 days away from pitchers and catchers reporting. That's not nothing.
No, it's not.
7 days away from the spring training opener, which I believe is strangely on a Thursday this year. It may be on a Friday, but I know it's a day or two before the Braves start on, and everybody else starts on that Saturday. And then we are officially 90 days, 90, so exactly 3 months away, if you look at it that way, from opening day in Major League Baseball. So that's the good news. The bad news is the Atlanta Braves haven't done a damn thing, and we're 90 days away from opening day. Let's get it together.
We did one, but I mean,
I think the Walker Buehler's a very good addition. But when I saw, and I'm not banging the Red Sox for spending that money. Okay. What I'm saying is when I saw that he came in at $21.5 million for 1 year, I knew the Braves were never a realistic opportunity. Because if he was going to get that on the market, I thought he was going to have to do like a prove it kind of deal. Because coming off the injuries and stuff, I thought he was going to be closer to $15 million, where it may be like a 3-year deal, 3 years, 45, and a 1 year opt out, so they can go back on the market and prove it. But when I saw that he got 1 year, 21.5, I was like, dude, we were never in the argument.
Okay, I was maybe not nearly excited as I should have been for the Buehler trade, because his numbers until the World Series were terrible. You know?
Yeah, but you got to realize he was coming off of significant surgery.
That doesn't sound like the Red Sox at all. Every pitcher they get is coming off a major surgery, so we just gotta.
So he had Tommy John surgery in 2022 after, I believe, Dave Roberts blew his arm out in the 21 playoffs. Then he came back and he had some complications. So last year was really his first real year back. But he was lights out in the postseason.
Yeah, he did great in the postseason. I mean, but
yeah,
what does that mean?
Hustler, he's we got some questions. Hustler, he's talking about Patrick Sandoval, which I had to laugh when I saw P. Sandoval. I was like, oh
my Lord, I almost wrecked my car.
He's back.
Yeah, he's back at the all-you-can-eat buffet. Eat a salad, you jerk. How about this Giovanni Moran? Do you know anything about him? Giovanni.
I thought you were talking to me. What?
Giovanni Moran that we got from the Twins. I don't know anything about him.
He's got some upside, but he's not necessarily someone who's gonna. If you go back and look at his numbers, because I did, he's not going to jump off the chart with you.
Right. His ERA was 5.81 or something, and
I
But
think what they like is his upside, but he may be more than anything else just a depth piece.
why it can't be the money because we have the money to spend.
Well,
I don't know if it's a
sometimes
year.
you're just bringing in depth pieces because it's a long season. So not
Right.
everybody you bring in is going to be
Right. But my
me.
next
Now,
question was going to be,
Patrick's
how
at-
come we haven't signed Corbin Burns yet?
Well, Corbin Burns, I think, is asking for $300 million. So you're
No,
talking
it's
about
245 was the latest one. I
What's
looked
that?
this morning.
What's that?
245 is what he's asking.
From
I just
who?
don't know how many years though.
From who? Because the rumors coming out of San Francisco is a 10-year deal, $300 million.
Oh, we're not doing that. Please God, don't do that. Not for a pitcher.
You're going to pay at least. I can tell you this much: you're going to pay more than the Yankees paid for Max Fried, because Corbin Burns is younger and he's going to want at least a deal. And if he doesn't, then he's going to sign one for a high AAV with an opt out. So in other words, like a 3-year, $120 million deal with opt outs after years 1 and 2, so that if he wants to go back on the market, he can. So that's, but Corbin Burns, before this ever started, Corbin Burns was looked at as the top pitching free agent, and he is not signed. I think a lot of it screwed up when the Dodgers went out and got Blake Snell off the jump. So Snell goes out there and gets, was it 182, and then Fried gets a much longer deal and gets 218. Fried, if you're ranking those 3 pitchers, Max Fried, Corbin Burns, and Blake Snell, Max Fried is number 3 on that list.
Hooray.
And it's not particularly close because he doesn't have the strikeout stuff. Blake Snell, his biggest pushback that people have with him is he doesn't go very deep into games. I don't think the Dodgers care. I think they're looking at it as, you do what you can. Come the postseason, you give us 5 shutout innings. We don't give a damn because we'll build the rest.
Yeah.
So Corbin Burns is going to want a long-term deal for well north of what Max Fried is averaging out, 27.5 a year. Corbin Burns is easily going to ask for 30 a year.
Well,
Now,
we
if he
get
gets
the
a 10-year
sale.
deal,
No,
if he gets
we
a
can-
10-year deal, that's gonna put you right at 300. If someone says, no, we don't want to give you a 3-year deal, we want to give you an 8-year deal, then he might settle for 250.
Well, I mean, we've done 30 a year for a pitcher. We price, sale, so
That's saying Burns wants 40 million for 10 years. He's not getting 40, but I think he'll probably get over 30 and probably closer to 35.
I think if we can get him or I don't know if there's really any other him out there right now because everybody else has already signed that's in his, talent level. We do need another starter though, and an elite starter. Because
Right.
I mean, we got Crochet, which is fantastic. I'm thrilled to death. It's just not enough. It's just not enough. The Yankees got better. Tampa manufactures pitchers, I don't know what the Orioles are doing really. It doesn't seem like but
I think they're relying on their youth and they're planning on locking these guys up. So I think that's why they're not really in on any of these big free agents that people.
Well, that's kind of the Orioles way, and that's fine. I mean, it seems to be working. If you look
at that core that the Orioles have, I think they're more concerned with locking up all these guys that they have that are elite prospects because they were so bad for a handful of years. They've got these elite prospects that are now major league ready. And I think they're probably looking to do what the Braves did and lock up some of them. But they're not really in on the Corbin Burns. They were never in on Snell or Fried. The only reason why they're even being linked to Burns is because he got traded to him last year. If you're looking at the best starting pitchers that are still available, that list, I mean, you can get some rent players that are older that you can roll the dice on, and maybe you get them signed to a cheaper deal. So you got Justin Verlander, Max Scherzer, Patrick Corbin. Man, no way in hell do I want to. I don't want to try whatever. I know his last 6 starts were phenomenal, but what about the 4.5 years before that? No, thank you. Jack Flaherty he'll be the next one that comes off the board after Corbin Burns, but I think he wants a long-term deal, so I don't think he's going to settle for anything less than at least a 4 or 5 year deal. And then after that, it really drops off because, you still technically have Charlie Morton out there who'll go out there and eat innings. He's not going to win many playoff games for you, but he can go out there and eat innings, which sometimes is all you need. But realistically, Corbin Burns and Jack Flaherty are the last 2 that are on the list that you consider guys that are horses that you can put out there and rely on, but they're probably going to want high AAV. I mean, I'm willing to take a swing at a Nick Pivetta. I'm willing to take a swing at a Trevor Williams. I'm willing to take a shot at like a John Means. Someone's going to go out there that is going to pitch you a good game, and then you worry about spending the money at the trade deadline. Because there's going to be teams that fall apart. So
yeah, there's going to be injuries. There's always going to be a spot for a pitcher.
One of my favorite one to take a shot at, and I think you could get him very reasonable, is Spencer Turnbull. Spencer Turnbull was very good when the Phillies put him in the rotation, but they had so many injuries to their bullpen, they kept putting him back in the bullpen. And I think he would jump at a chance to a 1-year prove-it deal if he knows he's going to be in the rotation. The Braves had great success with that with Ronaldo Lopez. But I still believe what the Braves are really going to be looking for is trade. So let's go ahead and hit the trade rumors as we start to wind this show down.
That's the rumor.
You retired too?
Not me. I'm in my prime.
All right, so that's the rumor. I think one of the most interesting ones, T, is that your Red Sox are still being rumored, but it looks like it's died. But there's some ember still burning, I'll put it that way, on this fire, is Luis Castillo. But what killed the deal and essentially had the Red Sox pivot to Walker Buehler is that they wanted Tristan Casas from the Red Sox, and the Red Sox weren't willing to deal. And I'll tell you something else. I went to look at his damn his current contract, Castillo's. Not only do you have a vesting option, but you have 3 years left. Let's say the vesting doesn't hit. You have 3 years at averaging around $24 million. I have a hard time believing that that's a thing. I mean, you're going to take on all that money for an aging right-hander who's still pretty good, but he's kind of got the Blake Snell disease. He doesn't get out of the 5th inning very often. Usually gives you good innings up into the 5th, sometimes the 6th. But $24 million is a lot of money. So if they're going to trade him, I think they're going to have to eat some money and then hope that they get some prospects back.
I just don't think he's worth Casas, personally.
No. Well, not unless if you give him Casas, it can't be straight up.
No.
You've got to say, hey, we want Casas. All right, you want Casas? We'll do that. But we want you to eat at least half of that damn contract per year. Because
we need more. We need more than just a tit for tat on that one. What are your thoughts on this Roki Sasaki thing?
I think he ends up a Dodger. And if he doesn't end up a Dodger, he'll end up somewhere in the West. Because most of the Japanese players want to play on the West Coast because it's closer to home. So it just makes sense.
And his idol is Yu Darvish, who's a Padre still, right? So
yeah, so those would be my top two. Would be the Dodgers and the Padres. I
yeah.
could see him wanting to just go to the Padres because of Yu Darvish, but there is the argument there that he would want to go to where you've already got two elite. I mean, look, if he goes to the Dodgers, they don't know if he's going to be ready for this year to be in the rotation, but I bet you the Dodgers at least put him in the bullpen by the end of the year. Anyway, you slice it, by next year, they would have 3 Japanese-born players in the rotation, and that is something that I think he's going to have a hard time turning down. And it sucks because from all accounts, he's the best one of the bunch as far as pitching.
But how many times do we hear that, though?
Well, I saw it for my own eyes. He was in the WBC in 23, and he was elite. And he was, 22 years old at that time. Now, this is all assuming health, and I get that, but Roki Sasaki, I believe, has the best arm that has hit the United States ever. The problem is it's not a true bidding war. So you don't go when these players are posted, you are limited by how much money you can offer. And so I want to say the top that you can offer is right around the 5.8 million. And the Dodgers already moved some things around so they could give him the most. But these players typically don't worry about it because they're looking at their next big contract.
Right.
It's a little surprising to me he didn't wait 2 years. If he waited 2 years, Pedro Hustler said Pedro Martinez. Pedro Martinez is not Japanese unless something happened that I don't know about.
I don't think he's Japanese.
Yeah. He's a lot of things, but he's not Japanese.
Yeah, he's a lot of things.
He might have misunderstood.
misunderstood.
Yeah, he might have misunderstood. I said the best Japanese pitcher. I would never say the best pitcher. My God, there's all kinds of pitchers that have come from overseas.
Well, there Minnesota. I heard the Pablo Lopez from Minnesota is another possible that the Red Sox have been kicking the tires on.
I mean, that's probably more realistic because it's a hell of a lot more affordable, and they probably don't want the Moon and Stars for him. And he's a solid starter.
I don't know anything about him. I watch the AL East. I should watch more. I certainly don't watch West Coast baseball. Even when I lived on the West Coast, I tried not to watch West Coast baseball. But yeah, that whole division is a
Minnesota's West Coast.
No, I'm saying I don't watch the Central, but I certainly don't watch West Coast. Was my point.
I was like, buddy, I'm pretty sure Minnesota sits right very close to you where you're at right now.
Closer to the West Coast, yeah, it does.
Minnesota's not on the West Coast. What the hell are you talking about? I said
closer than the West Coast.
Ish. Minnesota. Hey, look, if you're in Big Ten country, you're all Midwest.
Evidently, you missed that joke. It's fine though.
I guess. I guess it did. But anyway,
can't all be pearls, man.
Nah, that's all right. Work on your shtick during the week because when you got the main room, we want you firing on all pistons.
That's a fair point. Yeah.
Where was I at with the rumors? Oh, the big thing before we have to jump off here. Bregman is the next big fish that has to be signed. I still got this feeling that the Yankees might go deep on that. He keeps being rumored to the Mets, but it makes no sense for him to go to the Mets because the Mets have Vientos. Why do you want to take on another large contract? Vientos is pretty damn good. And so here's an interesting thing that was reported. Supposedly the Yankees in multiple deals have offered Marcus Stroman to people, which would lighten their rotation a little bit, but it frees up a ton of money. So,
well, I heard from the Sox point of view that they were kicking the tires on Bregman, and They're okay. We trade Casas for pitching, and then move Rafi to first and Bregman at third. And everybody's like, well,
The thing that I've actually heard is Bregman goes to second base.
He said he's willing. Yes. And let's be honest. I mean, Trevor Story's going to play his 13 games, and then
Now what I'm laughing about is Hustler saying Braves can sign Bregman and put him in left field. We can't afford Jack Tidley. We're not getting the number 1 third baseman on the market.
I wouldn't hate it. I mean, if we get rid of Casas, and I don't want to do that, but if we do, we need to get a haul for him because he's very good. And if, Rafi's not going to play first any worse than he plays third, I mean,
the Braves have as much chance of signing Bregman as we did signing Ohtani. There's no shot in hell that we get Bregman. I love Bregman. I would love to see him play. But first of all, where the hell do you put him? Because you can't just put anybody in the outfield just because you want to.
Well, the Red Sox beg to differ.
In theory, you could put Riley back into the outfield and Bregman at third, which is what you'd probably do. But it's a non-starter because they're not going to spend that kind of money. What's he going to do? Defer 29 of the 30 million a year that you're going to pay him until long after I'm dead?
Yeah.
Which I'm here for it. Go ahead and do it, buddy. Go ahead and do it. Man.
And how old is Bregman now?
Late 20s. I don't have it in front of me, but
okay, so he's not 30 yet.
I don't believe so.
Okay.
Let me look it up real quick. He'll pop up here on the screen. No, never mind. He just turned 30.
Okay.
Just turned 30. So, but he's looking for a 6-7 year deal. There's just not much of a chance. When you talk about a third baseman that the Braves could bring in, man, we're more in the conversation of Jace Peterson than we are Alex Bregman.
He's Pablo Sandoval's available.
Yeah. So is Patrick Wisdom. Exactly. He's ex-Cub. But the Braves, the shortstops real quick, I'll go over them. The ones that I like to sign a 1-year prove it deal kind of thing, get him back out on the market. Give me Paul DeYoung all day long. I just think that he is what the Braves need. He's a guy that can hit right-handed pitching, solid shortstop. Ahmed Rosario would be ideal, but I don't think he wants to go to a platoon situation, so your hands are tied on that. Jose Iglesias would be another interesting ad. Hard pass on Tim Anderson. Hard pass on I'll say hard pass on Kike Hernandez. He's going to give us a hard pass. He's going to sign a Bobo deal to go back to somewhere to where he can eventually get traded back to the Dodgers. And then, see, Brandon Crawford retired. Adrianza retired, if you missed that. He retired, I think it was yesterday or the day before. And so then all you really have left out there on the market is Aledmus Diaz or Nick Ahmed. None of those are jumping off the
it sounds like you're just making noises at this point. Right. I have no idea who these people are.
Paul DeYoung to me would be the solid choice. He's a proven hitter. He hits right-handers well. Arcia is terrible against right-handed pitching. That's been the one I've had circled for 2 years now. I wanted him at the trade deadline last year, and they ended up trading him to Kansas City. He fits perfectly. Because you're not going to get an elite shortstop if that's what people keep thinking. We have to be realistic about this. Anyways, we're just about out of time. What is your walk-off, sir?
Walk-off is make the moves, Sox. It's time. We've not made moves for 5 years now. Make the moves. Go get us another pitcher, a good pitcher, and let's be competitive this year. No more 86 wins per season. Screw that. We're the Red Sox, for crying out loud.
I just want the Braves to do something. That's my walk-off. You know that meme
where he's poking
the guy stick? Do something. Good God Almighty. I want something to be done by the time I see y'all next time. The next time I see y'all will probably be either next Friday or sometime in 2025. I don't think we're planning on doing a show till at least Friday at the earliest. So Happy New Year to everybody. If you want to have some really entertaining comments that you want to read, I'm going to give you a gift, y'all. Go to X, go to the Braves account. Yesterday afternoon, they put a post out there wishing everybody a happy Kwanzaa. All I can tell you is you want to go in and read all the different arguments back and forth. It is worth 15 minutes of eating popcorn and just watching them both trying to destroy each other. And they're all talking in a circle, but it's funny as hell. I might screenshot some of them and send them to you, T. All right. We will see y'all next time. Go Braves and do something. This is getting ridiculous. Gosh darn ridiculous.